think we need to change around. Hi, welcome to Carolina Varsity's look at week 4 of the 2013 football season. I'm Dale Ross.
I'm the pet man, Matt Morrow.
So let's just jump right in with which is probably the biggest game in the city this week. It'll be Thursday night. Remember, CMS hosted games will all be played on Thursday night, whether the teams are from Union County or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a CMS game, Thursday night, 7 p.m. So the first game that I have up is West Mecklenburg 3-0 versus Independence 3-0. Some things that I wanted to throw out. Of course, we talked in the review. Independence beat Olympic 21-8. West Mecklenburg 65-0 over Garinger.
Right.
One of the things that I wanted to note is that Independence is the most tested team of the two. Their schedule has progressively gotten tougher each week. South Mecklenburg, North Mecklenburg, Olympic. So actually, the schedule's worked out, I think, good for them. Whereas, if you really had to look at it, West Mecklenburg's has progressively gotten worse or softer.
Yeah.
So theirs went East Meck, West Charlotte, Garinger. So I don't know where East Meck and West Charlotte, where you want to have them fall out, people, but so. To me, Independence is going to come in tested. I think West Meck is going to have to prove some things. West Mecklenburg scored 198 points. That's 66 points a ball game.
Wow.
Independence is 112. They're scoring about 37. So I'm just going to throw up my keys, and I think Independence keys on offense will be control the line of scrimmage, which means linemen play physical. I think that's important. Establish the run, and then work the pass in and work a lot of the underneath stuff, play action stuff. I think that's what I would do. On defense, force the run to the inside. You got to defend the edges because that's where West Met can hurt you. Is going to be on the edges with their skill players. Smith and Wilson be very dynamic if they get into space.
Right.
West Mecklenburg gets them into space. It's going to be tough even for your skilled players to play them. West Mecklenburg, I think their offense needs to attack the edge. I see that C&D gap is where I think Independence over the last few years has been the weakest, is at that point. So attack that because that's where Wilson and Smith, can probably do more damage, and also get them into space, which means maybe some quick passes into the flat, maybe slant or something. Get the ball to them, throwing, I think, underneath the coverage, trying to, short stuff. And then on defense, you got to stop Robinson, just plain and simple. You got to put pads on him in the backfield. So it means your defensive line has got to get penetration. You can't pursue upfield too quickly, but you got to get penetration. If that kid's got his third step, with the ball, it's going to be very tough for you. And lastly, the DBs, especially the corners, you can't play too soft. And you should not bite on the run because they will hit you with the play action. They've got great wide receivers, as we've seen. So, really, I think that's it. I think it's going to be a good ball game.
Well, for me, I'll tell you, the key for Independence defensively, you got to tackle well. You got Wilson and Smith. Wilson is obviously the more quick speed guy. Smith is the hammer in the run game. But Wilson, if he's in space, you've got to corral him and don't let him, make you miss with his moves. With Smith, when he's running, he tends to run inside a lot. They use Wilson more on the outside, but Wilson can run inside as well. But when Smith is running inside, you've got to wrap up. You've got to be able to form tackle and bring him down on the first tackle. Because if you don't, it's going to be a broken tackle, and they could be off to the races. The key for Independence offensively, like you said, run the football. West Meck had trouble stopping the run last season, and I think the best way to get your offense going is take some pressure off Hopkins and let that Robinson run the football and get some confidence, and then, like you said, set up some play action off of that with your good receivers. Maybe you get the safeties to come down into the box so Hopkins can throw against one-on-one coverage, and your receivers will probably win those battles on the outside more times than not. The key for West Meck offensively, it's pretty obvious. You got to control the Independence defensive line. You only got one returning starter on the offensive line coming back. So those other 4 linemen, this is the test. You know, everything he worked on in those previous 3 games, now is going to be tested against a good team. And if you're going to win, you got to give McClendon time to throw the ball, and you got to give space for your skill guys to work in both the run game and the pass game. Mm-hmm. One thing I think I would do to Independence is throw some screens. You know, Independence plays a lot of man coverage also in the secondary, so you got to have some plays in to beat man coverage. West Meck does have some receivers. They'll put Wilson out at receiver and get him the ball that way. They've also got Gardner to transfer from West Charlotte, who's made some big plays in the passing game. The key for West Meck defensively and stopping Independence, man, I think you got to mix your looks defensively. Olympic, it was said they showed some 3-4. They moved some guys around. I think you got to give Independence different looks and make Hopkins a little uncomfortable, and maybe confuse that offensive line up front, and have them guessing on their assignments and such. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a real great game, and 2 teams with D1 talent, and there's going to be scouts everywhere. So guys, I got put in the forms. It's showtime, and make a name for yourself. You might get some money going to college.
So some comment I'll make is there was Tennessee, Clemson, App State. They told me there was another D1 coach there, but I don't remember who. But at the Garinger game, you know,
Wow.
yeah. So of course Clemson was there for Smith. Keep that guy corralled. All those kids, and they're all good. Smith's the kid that I think might play on Sundays, and they had him out at receiver as well.
Okay.
So, not telling any secrets, it's going to be on the game film that you got, but they were playing him out on the outside as well, from what I remember. So, you people that don't watch West Side football, you got 3 great ball players coming in. Probably many of us thinks the best quarterback in the city physically certainly is. In McClendon, you got, in my opinion, one of the most athletic backs I've seen play the game in Wilson. And you just got a baller in Smith. I mean, he's got all the tools physically. He's definitely, when you look at him, that's a D1 ball player. Clemson's got a good one coming. So, great ball game. I may be there. I hadn't made a decision yet what I'm doing Thursday. So.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on, and we're gonna take a look at Butler going up to Mount Tabor up in Winston-Salem. Mm-hmm. And you know, I think this can be a pretty good game. Possibly. Mount Tabor defeated Porter Ridge earlier in the season in week 1, 26-24 in a real close ball game. That's a local reference. Mm-hmm. And of course, Butler's coming off the 56-14 win over Page. And I think the key for Butler in this one, you know, just do what you did offensively. You know, stick with that scheme, and Ratliff, you kind of turn him loose and let him go. You put some different guys in the passing game. I know they moved a couple of defensive players in the secondary over to the offensive side of the ball. They're playing receiver now. Also, they're getting LeMay involved in the passing game. So, you know, some good changes. And, you know, for Mount Tabor, I think your key is to, I think Mount Tabor really needs to control the ball in this one. They've got some returning guys, and in the Porter Ridge game, you know, it was mentioned that those guys did a good job in terms of possession offensively. Mm-hmm. And I think at home with Butler coming in, I think with their offensive momentum, you got to slow them down a little bit. You want to give them a little bit of doubt, keep them in a close game, and see how they react. When they were in a close game with Mallard Creek, you know, they ended up losing that one. So I think the chances that you keep them around in a closer game are better than if you try to get in the track meet with these guys with their confidence up.
Exactly. I don't think Mount Tabor's built for fast comebacks either. Mm-hmm. You know, so my keys, obviously, Butler, do what you did last week. You did it well. try to get up quick. I would run a fast-paced game. You're going to hear me say this again in another ball game, but I would run a fast-paced game if I'm Butler, and try to get the score, make them play, keep up with me, because I think that's going to be tougher for Mount Tabor to do. Mm-hmm. Mount Tabor's physical, more wants to play more physical football. I think the keys for Mount Tabor is going to be physical in that front line to not allow Ratliff to have time to do whatever changes have been made. They need to, and have an opportunity from what we've seen, or from what I've seen, they've got an opportunity on that line to be able to get penetration into the backfield. Mm-hmm. Going to have to contain You're going to have to contain LeMay. Right. If they're throwing the ball to LeMay, swing passes, screen passes, that's smart. Got to give him touches. He is one of their playmakers. So I think it could be a good ball game early on. But I think personally, I'm picking Butler to win this thing because I don't think Mount Tabor can stay in the ball game.